My name is Kat Coffin. I'm 34 years old, and I was diagnosed with what was then termed Asperger's syndrome, that is now modern autism spectrum, when I was 9 years old. I was very lucky. Not every young girl is as lucky because three of my brothers were diagnosed on the autism spectrum. I went in with them to be diagnosed when they started. My two older brothers were diagnosed first, and then when we moved to Missouri from Indiana, they found like a new counselor and a new therapist, and I was just getting at that age, and so they had me tested along with them. So I was very lucky in that respect. So for me, it was easy. It's not always the case for other women. I think in the 80s and 90s, when myself and my siblings were diagnosed, it was more common, it was thought to be more commonly associated with young boys. They aren't necessarily looking for little girls, and especially since most young girls manifest autistic symptoms a little differently than little boys. So, um, my process was easy, but I want to just recognize that it was out of the norm for me and for most young girls. I would say that if I am not around people I am 100% comfortable with, I can be very quiet. I can be very sort of, I was called shy as a little kid. I had pretty intense social anxiety. So probably the quietness, just being afraid of saying the wrong thing is probably the most noticeable. When I hit high school, I got very good at masking my autistic traits. So actually, recently there's been a kind of an ongoing process of demasking and just kind of letting my autism freak flag fly. Um, I think like it's kind of a great time for neurodivergent folks, for autistic folks, and ADHD folks, and there's a greater understanding of stimming. But privately, I would stim. I would have different kinds of. I would happy flap. That's probably the most common people think of. I would scratch denim, like denim jeans or denim jackets. I like the sound of that, and uh, that those are probably the stims that I think of right away. But also, like, this is kind of a silly stim, but like movie quotes are a big stim. And if I am like, they're a good way to calm me down is to pick a favorite movie and just start reciting it to myself. Actually, in long car rides, my siblings and I would have games where we would literally just recite a Disney movie. So that's noticeable to us, maybe not necessarily as noticeable to others. I have a lot of friends. I'm social. My autistic hyper focuses are a little bit more socially acceptable, or they look good in a college course. Like, I mean, I'm lucky. C.S. Lewis is obviously one of my hyper focuses. Like, I didn't get trains or Disney movies or dinosaurs, common sort of autistic hyper focuses, but it's not just that I'm obsessive about C.S. Lewis. It's a genuine it's a genuine autistic hyperfocus. Um, I have eidetic memory for specifically hyperfocuses. So that would just include like music and song lyrics and guitar chords for all of my favorite singers, and for books. Like I can pretty like I love misquoting C.S. Lewis because I can usually tell if it's a misquote or not because I recognize the longer thing. So it's been a boon to me in academia because as long as I am really intensely interested in the subject, it will stay in my brain and I can refer back to it anytime I want. Well, it's great for college academia, but in high school and grade school, where you are learning things that you are not necessarily obsessed or interested in, I cannot focus on it. I have never been good at math. Um, unless I was reading about science, I didn't like participating in science experiments. When I refer back to math, because that was the bane of my existence as an autistic child, because I simply was not interested, did not care, and my grades were poor. So that was a pretty tough challenge growing up, and I really didn't start to kind of hit my perfectionist academia stride until I hit college. So definitely challenging that way. And of course, overstimulation is a very real thing, and burnout is can make life very, very challenging. I can exhaust myself really easily. Well, my diagnosis was pretty young, and I think it uh, took place kind of around the time I started going to like a Protestant private Christian school. So there was, at first, there was like kind of a fear, a shame almost associated with it, and I kind of didn't want to be like my brothers. So I would kind of deny it and kind of try to prove to God that no, 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 I'm not like my brothers. I have a big circle of friends. Like, I don't stim in public, so it's not real. Like, things like that. I think that a greater and closer relationship with Jesus made me more accepting of myself. That's one of the beautiful things about Christianity and accepting God and accepting Jesus in your life is you learn that the person you were created to be all along was beautiful and wonderful and special. And that's truly what being a child of God is all about. So, coming to a greater acceptance of myself as an autistic woman and being a little bit more open about it, not hiding it, not keeping it like a dirty little secret, um, I attribute all of that to God. I attribute that to all of the Christians who, through their faith in Christ, allowed them to be who they truly are. And I am inspired by that. And I thank God every day that He made me this way.
I'm William O'Flaherty. Thanks for visiting my channel. Please consider liking and or sharing this video. Also, feel free to comment and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and watch other videos.